The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We depropagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is different. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. Yours and mine, equally valuable. Let's share. Let's compare. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining me a little earlier than we normally do. The way the schedule is working, my day job is something that sort of crams my afternoon, obviously. And it takes a while to put this show together every day because I've got a lot of news to go through to bring the biggest stories of the day to you. And so I get finished doing one thing and then rush in here and do this. But if this time works better for you, I think I'll probably be able to do this show at this time frame for a while. I'll let you know. So please, by all means, stick around and we'll have more information coming to you via Facebook, YouTube, all the places that I announce where the show is going to be, and hit those notifications for the Wells Report. Hit that notification bell so you know when we're on the air. Big news today. CNN reports Secret Service agents failed to take charge of decision-making for security at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally, where former President Donald Trump was shot in July. This from a bipartisan Senate committee revealing a new report today, leading to key lapses in preparation and communication that day. The report cites interviews with top Secret Service officials and local law enforcement who oversaw the security for the rally, said the failures were foreseeable, preventable, and found that many of the problems identified by the committee remain unaddressed by the Secret Service. There is news on this that comes to us from Fox News, and we want you to see some of this as we come to this. CBS has this story, and we want to show it to you. So take a look at your screen as we get things rolling on this Wednesday, September 25th, year of our Lord 2024. Check this out.
Breakdowns in training, breakdowns literally of the equipment, and breakdowns in communication. All of this, according to the congressional investigators, is simply unacceptable. Let me run you through some of the top lines, according to our CBS News review of this 94-page U.S. Senate report. The radio equipment carried by U.S. Secret Service on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, broke down. They had radio system malfunctions, and according to this investigation, it wasn't the first time these radios had acted up. The Secret Service had a counter-drone specialist on site who was not well trained, according to the Senate investigators, had been in the job for only 3 months and spent most of the day on a toll-free helpline trying to get the equipment to work, and it didn't work. And then all the missed warning signs in granular detail in this report, how the reports of somebody with a rangefinder near the site, near the podium, went unheeded for minutes, how somebody on the roof went unheeded for minutes, how a counter sniper, knowing police were running toward that roof with guns drawn, didn't think to notify the team to get Trump off the stage. All of this included in this report, and the Senate's been pretty bipartisan on this, Errol, saying that changes have to be made by the Secret Service. They have to share more information, not stonewall, and likely need more money and better accounting for that money.
But Scott, it just seems so staggering, that list of failures. How is the Secret Service now responding?
In a statement to CBS News, the Secret Service says a lot of what the Senate investigation found aligns with their own internal review, which has been ongoing since July 13th. They've released just a summary, but not the full report on what they found internally. that Donald Trump now has the highest level of security as he campaigns ahead of November 5th, and that they have been cooperative with investigators and rigorous with their own review. But it's noteworthy that the person who was the director of the Secret Service the day of this shooting, July 13th, is no longer the director of the Secret Service.
He is referring to Kimberly Cheadle, who indeed resigned in disgrace over this entire mess. Some of the problems highlighted included the Secret Service failing to set up visual barriers around the rally that may have blocked shooter Thomas Matthew Crook's view of Trump, the lack of a plan on how to secure the building the shooter took aim from, and the general chaos of communications around the shooter's movements leading up to the attempt on the former president's life. Homeland Security Committee Chairman Senator Gary Peters told CNN this morning that his panel heard a lot of finger pointing when they pressed Secret Service agents about who was in charge of the day of the rally. That should be a very clear answer. The problem is there is no answer, the Michigan Democrat saying on CNN News Central. This was astonishing to us. We could not find one point of contact who said this was the person in charge. Key requests were also denied, some of them not even made, according to the report. Secret Service advance agents did not request a surveillance team, which could have helped patrol the rally for approximately 15,000 attendees. First Lady Jill Biden, meanwhile, had one assigned to her event roughly an hour away for approximately 410 individuals. Quote, overall, the lack of an effective chain of command, which came across clearly when we conducted interviews. This, according to Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Connecticut Democrat who is leading the subcommittee's investigation, told reporters yesterday. It was almost like an Abbott and Costello farce, with who's on first finger pointing by all the different actors. In a statement today, Anthony Giuliani, the Secret Service Chief of Communications, said the report's findings are in line with the agency's own around the failures that day, and highlighted the increased protection Trump has received since. Many of the insights gained from the Senate report align with the findings from our mission assurance review and are essential to ensuring that what happened on July 13th never happens again. There were also some things that came out of this report that had been talked about, specifically the special agent in charge of the actual detail was an inexperienced Secret Service agent and was not up to the job that day. It was a stinging report, and it was very seriously bad for the Secret Service. In interviews for the committee, the report says the Secret Service team in charge of planning the Butler event could not answer questions about who specifically was responsible for deciding the inner and outer perimeter of the rally, and who excluded the group of buildings that Crooks ultimately climbed upon to penetrate the Secret Service perimeter. Those involved in security planning could not agree on who, whether agents from the Pittsburgh field office, the Office of Protective Operations, or Trump's own Secret Service detail, was ultimately responsible for decision-making or how the process even worked. Secret Service, federal, state, and local law enforcement only had 2 official meetings ahead of the July 13th rally and described the interactions prior to the event as informal, according to the report. The decisions that fell through the cracks included whether to position rental trucks around the rally to obstruct any line of sight to Trump. Other issues included how responsibilities that day were not clearly defined or understood, in how communications would work that day between local law enforcement and the agency, as well as within the agency itself. Their own communications fell and broke down. According to the report, agents interviewed did not agree about who was responsible for ensuring the agency's communications center that day was functioning as it was intended to function. Agents also disagreed in interviews over who was responsible for the setup of the operations room, how it was staffed, and how the agency would communicate with local law enforcement officers on the ground. The lack of clarity and subsequent finger pointing also extended to who was responsible for securing the buildings Crooks ultimately fired from. Excerpts from testimony of Secret Service agents and Butler officials outline how there was no clear entity agency to oversee the securing of the building, which became a huge issue when the rally turned into an emergency. While Secret Service agents told the committee they believed Butler emergency officials were covering the building, those local officials told lawmakers they had informed the United States Secret Service they did not have the ability to do so. A police officer with the Butler County Emergency Services Union unit told lawmakers that 2 days before the Trump rally, he told the Secret Service site agent that his team, quote, did not have manpower to lock down that area. The police officer said the site agent copied and said they would take care of it. But the Secret Service site agent told a different story, saying they thought the Butler County Emergency Services Unit would have coverage of the building. This kind of confusion is simply unacceptable. That's just the way it is. Let's see. The lead advance agents for the Secret Service could not answer to the committee when asked who secured the building. There is no specific. There are several plans in place, different pieces of the puzzle from the advance that had their own stake in making sure the building was not accessible, that agent said. Credible intelligence about an Iranian assassination plot targeting President Trump prompted U.S. Secret Service officials to take the unprecedented step of deploying a counter-sniper unit to help secure the Butler rally, a decision that potentially saved lives but ultimately failed to stop the shooter before he managed to fire multiple rounds at Trump, this according to the report. Information about the threat was not relayed to senior officials in Pittsburgh, their field office there, or other Secret Service personnel on the ground, who subsequently told the committee it was something they absolutely should have been made aware of prior to the event, so they could request additional resources that may have helped prevent the shooting from taking place in the first place. While the FBI has said that there is no evidence linking Iran to the shooter at Trump's July 13th rally, current and former Secret Service officials have told CNN that knowledge of the credible threat prior to the assassination attempt on its own should have automatically led to increased security around the former president, particularly for large outdoor events like the one in Butler. So, here's what we have. We have a summary of the internal Secret Service report that I can't find. So where is it? They say there is one, but where is it? Further, USA Today did not report anything about this particular story, meaning that there must be something pretty bad inside it that would cause a left-wing or left-center media outlet to try to ignore the entire story. Now, let's get to the nuts and bolts. The Secret Service has not been forthcoming about their event or about their investigation into the event in Butler. They have not. They have not stood before the people of the United States and defined their successes and failures in that particular event in any way, shape, or form. They've not explained anything. They have a report. It's been months. They have a report, but they haven't released it yet. What does that mean to us? This is supposition on my part. What it suggests to me is culpability. That's what it suggests. It suggests the deep state is still involved in trying to remove Donald Trump from consideration for the presidency by the people of the United States. They can't explain their situation with their own words. They can't handle what has actually happened to their agency and during that particular Butler event. And so the United States government has stepped up in a bipartisan way, with Democrats and Republicans outraged about the Secret Service, and yet they remain silent. So this report from the Senate of the United States defines the Secret Service's failures, rather than having the Secret Service define those failures on their own. And yeah, that suggests culpability to me. And that suggests a deeper and more serious, okay, I'll say the word, conspiracy regarding the decision-making of the Secret Service and the protection of Donald J. Trump. That's the way I see it. How about you? 817-379-2172. Let's talk. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. Is the Secret Service culpable for doing what was necessary to make it possible for an assassin to shoot Donald Trump live on national television? Another bright sunny day. There are real problems with this particular investigation. Real problems. The FBI can't break into these encrypted accounts. They say that there's no indication that Iran had anything to do with Thomas Matthew Crooks. But there are things that we know that have been reported by multiple news stories. For example, a cell phone in the possession of Thomas Matthew Crooks pinged a cell tower in Washington, D.C. How? How did that happen? And how can the FBI say there's no indication that there were any kind of say conspiratorial conversations between Crooks and Iran when they don't have the information to say so? But what they're saying is, well, we don't have that information. Well, that's because You can't break into these encrypted accounts? This is awful. And Donald Trump is making no bones about the fact about Iran trying to assassinate our political candidates. CBS News reports it this way on the Wells Report.
During his remarks, he took a moment to issue a warning to foreign leaders following a recent briefing about Iran's ongoing threats to assassinate him.
If I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that.
Trump went on to say he would not be shaken or intimidated by these threats. He also vowed to bring manufacturing jobs back to North Carolina.
That's where that particular rally was taking place. Now, in that particular statement, I want to point out a couple of things. That was probably not the right thing for Donald Trump to say, although I am sure that there would have been and would be, should Iran have been successful, there would certainly be some kind of American response that was directed and directly executed against Iran. I doubt very sincerely strategic targets, that being biggest cities, etc., would be on the list when it got through National Command Authority. I'm very sure that what would happen is that the United States could, and in my view, should, obliterate Iranian military targets. All of them. All of them. And if there were any strategic targets, what I would suggest is I'd also suggest that perhaps maybe the housing of some of these Iranian leaders be taken out in that attack as well. But you can't destroy Tehran or even badly damage it because of something along this line. But somebody needs to stand up to Iran and say, look, you have been coming at America for decades at this point. You are the world's state sponsor of terrorism. It's awful. And I got to be perfectly honest with you, when you start thinking about all this stuff and you start looking at this, at least Donald Trump is thinking about doing something about it. And that is something that has to happen sooner or later. You're going to have to bloody Iran's nose. And you don't do it by destroying their cities. You do it by destroying their military. And I mean destroying it. I mean, if there's a strategic target, okay, the naval base that the Iranian Navy uses, destroy that. Maybe you want to destroy another strategic target would be some of the oil refineries. But you would have to do something to Iran to get their attention and tell them to stop screwing around with the United States of America or face serious, serious peril. That's the way I see it. How about you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. The Wells Report dancing around on the time schedule. We're here an hour early today than what we've been doing, and I don't know that this isn't a better idea. We'll talk more about that coming up as the show continues. The Wells Report. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Greetings. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. Taking a look at the chat room. The Texan checks in, says, howdy, JD. Hey, Texan. You can find him on pilled.net, PILLED.net. And just search for the Texan. It's a great program, very much like what you see us, but there's more. It's a really nice eclectic broadcast that you should spend a little bit of time with. Now, there has been, fortunately, some statements made regarding Kamala Harris's economic plans, and that's not a bad thing. And the reporting is sketchy. This particular report I'm about to play for you is hours old. I mean, it came out this afternoon, and CBS gave it to us. And the they talk a little bit about what she is going to do with her economic planning. And we'll talk more about that as we continue here on the Wells Report. But let's take a look at some policy statements from Kamala Harris.
By the Harris campaign that we will hear some new proposals from Vice President Harris today when it comes to innovation in manufacturing. Pittsburgh is a fitting backdrop for that. But I'm told that she's also going to revisit some of the economic policies that she has already proposed, having to do with housing, helping first-time home buyers, or tax credits, helping families with small children. And she's going to try to sort of use those policies to explain her overarching economic philosophy for people who are still getting to know her. And she's going to argue that she is a pragmatic leader when it comes to the economy and that she's not driven by ideology. This is a pretty clear case of Harris looking to push back on some of those labels that Trump has been trying to attach to her, like socialist or communist, or most recently, as you demonstrated, tax queen, all labels that her campaign, of course, says are completely out of bounds.
All right. So that is basically what they're talking about there. And her plans involve this use of the word pragmatic. Now, this is a problem from a political standpoint, just in my opinion. That's why we're over here. News is over here, but I talk opinion over here. And the way this is coming out is that when she says pragmatic, this was not something that she probably should have said, because remember Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders on a Sunday broadcast a couple of weeks ago spent an awful lot of time talking about how Kamala Harris was being pragmatic when it came to her economic plan because she wants to win the presidency. Remember, Kamala Harris has put herself in a very strange maze that tactically looks damaging to her. She says, my values haven't changed, my policies have. Okay. So you want a president that doesn't act on her values, but instead acts on whatever it takes to get her enough votes to become the president? Is that really where we are here? And so the idea that the word pragmatic would be used by the Harris administration following that quote from Bernie Sanders is damaging. And you look at this and you go, okay, so are you sure you want to say it that way, Madam Vice President? I'm pretty sure she doesn't. The Washington Post, not a news outlet we spend a lot of time with because it's so painfully biased, but when you're talking about at least policy statements that Kamala Harris is making, we have to report them here. We simply do, because I have said we need to know more information. This is how the Washington Post talks about it. Vice President Kamala Harris, seeking to further erode Donald Trump's advantage on economic issues, announced plans today for a broad expansion of investment in American industries from semiconductors to clean energy. But she was light on specifics. Now, this is the Washington Post. This is not me opining. This is the news from the Washington Post. Light on specifics. She focused much of her speech on emphasizing she understands the struggle of middle-class Americans. Many workers have wrestled with high gas and food prices for much of the Biden presidency, although inflation has cooled in recent months. That inflation, as you know, was brought about by two things: runaway government spending, $1.9 trillion, in the Green New Deal, which was actually called the Inflation Reduction Act. Don't know why. And then what happened was the curtailment of American export of oil and natural gas. In other words, turning America away from energy independence. That forced prices of gasoline and diesel fuel up, which meant the supply chain had to raise their prices, truckers moving these goods around the country. And so when that happened, prices at the grocery store went up. Gasoline prices went up to the same levels they were during the Obama administration when the same thing happened. And then Donald Trump came and said, no, we're going to be energy independent. And what he did was took American oil and put it on the world market, which drove the prices of petroleum around the world down. And so we had gasoline at $1.87. I just spent $3.40 a gallon. Okay, so I burn premium in my Tahoe. But and you can find lower gas prices, but they hover around $3, which is little less than half of what the gas prices used to be. And so when you start talking about this inflation that she wants to do something to help out middle class Americans, one of the problems that what she's trying to solve is a problem she and the President Biden created in the first place. And so the only way to stop this, the only way to bring prices down, bring inflation down, all of it is to follow Trump's footsteps, which would be to start exporting American oil and natural gas right now. Why now? Because winter's coming. That's why. And it's coming for all of us, not just around the world. Europe is screaming for natural gas because the Russian pipeline, the pipeline was sabotaged. They've got real problems. And so America could fill that gap, but that's not happening because President Biden is in charge and Kamala Harris apparently likes the energy policies of the Biden-Harris administration. Getting back to Kamala Harris and her economic plan. Workers have wrestled with high gas and food prices. Inflation has cooled, but not that much. I mean, this is inflation caused by the policies of the current administration. And then she did this again, speaking to the Economic Club of Pittsburgh. I grew up in a middle-class family. And while we were more fortunate than many, I remember my mother sitting at that yellow Formica table late at night, a cup of tea in hand with a pile of bills in front of her, trying to make sure she paid them off by the end of the month. The only thing I can say is that tenured professors in the California university system probably wouldn't be considered middle class. They're probably knocking out $300,000 or $400,000 a year at least. And then she painted scenes that recalled how President Biden has long described his own middle class upbringing. The account was intended to create a contrast with Trump, who grew up wealthy and made a career of showcasing his lavish lifestyle. Okay, again, this is a problem because Harris is trying to distance herself from Joe Biden and yet continues to evoke Joe Biden and the plans that they made economically. Bidenomics? Well, okay. All right, so Bidenomics isn't working for most Americans. And I just explained why. And she says, I'm not Joe Biden, but Joe Biden and I did all this stuff and we're proud of it. Again, creating this maze that is at least confusing and probably incomprehensible to most people who say, look, I was listening to the Wells report the other day, and we know what caused inflation: runaway government spending and high energy costs. That's what did the whole thing. And now she's trying to fight it without doing the things required to fight it effectively and quickly, which is to, again, start exporting American earth fuels, not fossil fuels, but fuels that are natural gas and petroleum. She described her economic philosophy as pragmatic, stressing her policies are practical and not bound by ideology. She proposed increasing the tax deduction for startup businesses from $5,000 to $50,000, and she recapped specifics of her previous policy plans, including $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and a $6,000 tax benefit for children or for parents with newborns. Quote, I intend to chart a new way forward and grow America's middle class. Donald Trump intends to take America backwards to the failed policies of the past. What failed policies? What failed policies is she speaking of? $1.87 gas. Is that a failed policy? Inflation in the very last quarter of the Trump administration, 1.4%. It's hovering around 3% right now, over twice what it was before. Come on, you're going to have to do something different. But and she says she's not bound by ideology. Fine, then start exporting American earth fuels. If you're not bound by ideology, if you're not absolutely, completely wedded to this Green New Deal, which has been called a scam by a lot of people, well, then what are you doing? These are questions that need to be asked of her. And where is all this money coming from? A tax deduction for startup businesses from $5,000 to $50,000. Is that not a tax cut? Don't the American leftist politicians talk about how Donald Trump's tax cuts cost Americans more in the deficit and the budget and the national debt? Well, what's that? And oh, by the way, the $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. Who are those first-time home buyers? And what houses are they going to buy? There is a shortage of housing in the United States based on the fact that interest rates have almost quadrupled when you're talking about buying a house, at least doubled. And so now you're in a situation where $25,000, okay, that's not going to get you into a house. And who are the people that are going to be these first-time home buyers? Will they be Americans trying to get out of an apartment and into a house? Or will they be, I don't know, American immigrants or immigrants living in America that are doing whatever they can to try to be taxpayer funded and use the taxpayer money that they're given on a regular basis for the basic necessities? I mean, is this, who's she going to pay this money to? And when you talk about a government that is $35 trillion in national debt, do we have any of this money to begin with? Doesn't seem pragmatic to me. What it seems like is a political gimmick designed to buy voters. She went on to say this: I intend to chart a new way forward and grow America's middle class. She's working to cut into Republican nominee Donald Trump's advantage on economic issues, a push that polls suggest has begun to bear fruit, says the Washington Post. Fruit to who? Polling numbers? You know, you really can't buy a house with polling numbers. You know, you really can't fill your gas tank with polling numbers. You can't fill your gas tank or buy groceries at reasonable prices with votes. You can't do it. And popular votes at that. Remember, the Electoral College makes it possible for everybody in the United States per state to choose the American president. It's not some kind of bizarre conspiracy theory to disenfranchise American voters. More people live on the coasts of the United States than live in the rest of the entire country. And so if the popular vote is the benchmark for political success in the United States, well, okay, that may be political, but it is not the American system. Each state chooses the president. Every state chooses the president. And you don't disenfranchise everybody else except on each coast by getting rid of the Electoral College. And this is what has to happen from a standpoint of people like you and me thinking about this election. What you have to think about is the reality of it all and tear away the politics. Very much like Kamala Harris is saying, can't be bound by ideology. Okay. If you're not bound by ideology, then what you're bound to is economics, crime, the southern border, a huge influx of immigrants living in the United States, taking jobs, driving prices down or wages down, which makes all of this worse. This concocted mess is not concocted by Donald Trump trying to give tax breaks to the rich that spend probably, or at least contribute, more than 60% of America's collected tax money. How much more do you want to take from these people? And so I look at all of this and I'm going, okay, at least she's talking policy. Sort of. But she's not saying how all this is going to work. She's not saying how this is actually going to make American middle-class families better off. And I want to hear those answers. This is the Wells Report.
Yeah. alta.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. We just got a text on the chat room from Wendai Jia. Actually, it's Jia Wendai because they put their last name first. Anyway, she says, I'm curious how you ended up on my Facebook page. Have we met before? The answer is no. And there are all kinds of mysterious things having to do with Facebook and why the Wells Report appears on people's pages. I can't explain it. I don't know. But yeah, there are a lot of people that suddenly get the Wells Report and they're going, what's this? Well, just stick around. I hope you're still with us, Gia Wendy or Wendai. It's good to have you here. Let's see. The Texan said, thanks for the shout out. Once again, pilled.net. You can find the Texan. Great show. Mike Renwee, a dear friend of the Wells Report, says he's found gas around $2.60. Okay, that's good. That's good. Like I said, I buy premium. It's over $3. It's somewhere around $3.40, depending on where I buy it. I normally, or when I am rich, which is not the case now, but when I am rich, I normally buy Chevron or Texaco gasoline. And yeah, it's more expensive. But lately, like I would say the last year or so, I've been going to QT, Quick Trip, which is a chain around Texas that sells gas reasonably well because they offset the price of gasoline with the stuff you buy in their convenience stores. Best convenience stores ever. Quick Trip, amazing. If they come to your state, you might want to check them out. Let's see. The Texan opines that the first-time home buyers she's talking about are illegal aliens. It may be true. It seems to me that all these so-called immigration policies are a ploy for displacing and replacing America's middle class, replacing a whole voter bloc in favor of progressive thought. Well, Once again, you get to this pragmatic thing. And this, by the way, in my view, shows the bankruptcy of the American left from a standpoint of not just financial bankruptcy, but also from an intellectual bankruptcy. The simple case of the matter is that you look at all of this, you put all this stuff together, and what you see is a creation of a mess that they're now promising to fix. That doesn't make sense to me. These are mutually exclusive. But I also spoke about the national debt. Congress has passed a critical government funding extension today, sending legislation to President Joe Biden's desk to avert a shutdown that would have taken hold at the end of the month. The legislation keeps the government's doors open through December 20th. It's well after the election. The GOP-led House passed the measure by relying on Democrat support after some Republican lawmakers raised concerns about the plan to kick the can down the road. The bill, it's another continuing resolution, passed 341 to 82 in the lower chamber. That represents 82 of 220 House Republicans voting against it. The Senate approved the extension shortly afterward with a bipartisan vote of 78 to 18. And one of the persons that voted for this is a dear friend of the Wells Report, Congressman Michael Burgess. Congressman Michael Burgess stood up and said, yeah, I'm going to vote for this continuing resolution, and offered an explanation as to why he's doing so.
House Republicans have done the work of funding our federal agencies. Our Appropriations Committee has passed all 12 bills out of committee. 5 of those have passed on the floor. Over 70% of the funding for the federal government has already been passed by the House. Unfortunately, the Senate continues to stall. To be clear, the Senate has not passed a single appropriations bill. Funding does expire at the end of this month. September 30th occurs the same time every year, just like Christmas, just like Halloween. Should not be a surprise to the Majority Leader of the United States Senate. With funding expiring at the end of this month, it's unfortunate but necessary to pass a continuing resolution so that the government continues to operate while the other body continues to stall. And here's another thing. I frankly do not understand why the President of the United States would even consider vetoing this legislative measure while members of his own party refuse to come to the table to negotiate with Republicans. House Republicans will not be responsible if there is an appropriations lapse. If there is an appropriations lapse, that falls squarely on the shoulders of the other body and the Democrats in charge. This is why I will be supporting the passage of the continuing resolution. We have to put personal politics aside and do what is right for everyday Americans.
All right, that's Michael Burgess, like I said, a dear friend of the Wells Report and the Wells family and just about everybody in Texas. He used to be my congressman, but then things changed. Beth Van Dyne is now the congressman representing this particular congressional district where I live. And so, yeah, once again, a bipartisan kicking the can down the road. There are a lot of conservative Republicans that are very upset about the fact that, once again, a continuing resolution is being used to fund a government out of control economically and financially. And yeah, that drives me nuts too. It does. And these bills, these appropriations bills, are set up. They've been set up for decades and decades. But for some reason, it's better for this government and the people in charge of it, and that's read politicians, to continue adding to this unbelievable debt that our children and our grandchildren and maybe even our great-grandchildren are going to have to pay unless we start using the wealth of the United States to buy down this amazing debt. Now, there's only one plan that's out there that I can see, and that's, again, to sell American earth fuels. We have quadrillions and quadrillions of dollars worth of earth fuels, oil, gas, and that's the only way we're going to be able to buy ourselves out of this mess. But then we've got an entire political community that refuses to even consider that these fuels are even worth selling or having anything to do with because it's going to harm the climate. All of this is just a tiresome mess that's built around political garbage, and I hope it disappears. Hour 2 is next on the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. I report news here. I make commentary here, so you know the difference. Specifically, because it's important. My opinion is just my opinion. Yours is yours. Let's share, let's compare, let's debate. But don't confuse my opinion or your opinion with news. Let's just talk things over. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. I have called on Vice President Kamala Harris to be specific about her economic plans. We just touched on a Washington Post article that was biased to her favor, even though they pointed out that while these are broad policy statements, the policies themselves are a little harder to discern. Let's continue with the New York Times and this same article. And I'm only doing this, and I want to make sure you understand this. This is not a partisan broadcast. This is a news broadcast. And I have said that Kamala Harris needs to flesh out these ideas, or any ideas, all of her policy statements. And so when she tries, or when she does, I want to report that to you so you have that information. The objective is to provide fact. The objective is to provide news you can actually use to make decisions with on this broadcast. So let me give you the New York Times version of this particular story. Vice President Kamala Harris laid out a broad vision of her economic plan today as she sought to bridge the political divide between the progressive senator who ran for president in 2019 and the pragmatic pro-business candidate she is presenting herself as now. By the way, in this speech, she said, "I am a capitalist," in a speech in Pittsburgh. Kamala promised not to be constrained by ideology, even though she would fiercely defend unions and the middle class. Let's continue. During a speech in Pittsburgh, she declared that "I'm a capitalist." Ms. Harris promised to protect and expand U.S. manufacturing. As she tried to convince voters, she will defend and lift up the middle class. Quote, "From our earliest days, America's economic strength has been tied to our industrial strength. The same is true today. So I will recommit the nation to global leadership in the sectors that will define the next century." Speaking not with the trappings of a raucous campaign rally, but in front of the sober signage of the Economic Club of Pittsburgh, Ms. Harris delivered remarks seemingly tailored to voters sitting on the wood-paneled offices, reading the print edition of the Wall Street Journal. Such voters may have supported John McCain and Mitt Romney and might believe the economy was better 4 years ago, but the Harris campaign appears to be hoping that many will now have trouble stomaching the idea of voting for former President Donald J. Trump. Ms. Harris revealed little about her new economic plans in her 39-minute speech, but she reiterated many of the populist themes of her economic agenda. She promised tax increases on the largest corporations while pledging tax breaks for small businesses and home builders. Okay, got to point this out. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. If you're going to defend American manufacturing and American industrial power, how do you do so? By raising taxes on those very same companies and the people that are responsible for those companies, the rich. How do you do that? By taxing them? I don't know. I would ask her that question respectfully, politely. I'll reach out to the Harris campaign, see if I can get Kamala Harris to talk to me. and I'll ask her those questions in a respectful manner. But these are the things that, I mean, everybody's saying the same thing in the mainstream media. Okay, she's talking about her economic plans, but details are scarce. So let's go to the actual, okay, horse's mouth. Let's go to the Harris-Walz campaign. This is a press release that they put out today. So let me give this to you. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are committed to building a stronger economy where everyone has an opportunity to chase their dreams and aspirations, and where the United States continues to out-innovate and outcompete the world in the 21st century. Today, the campaign released additional plans as a part of their pragmatic agenda to invest in and continue to rebuild America's industrial capacity. The strategy builds on the core priorities of lowering costs for families, restoring families' basic economic security, and ensuring the middle class continues to be a source of growth for our economy while investing in American innovation and entrepreneurship. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz know that building our capabilities requires investments in our workforce, foundational research, incentives to deploy new technologies, and reforms to build factories and facilities across America at scale and speed. Their plan will do that. They will empower American workers, including union workers, and those without a college degree to surge America's lead in industries of the future, revitalizing manufacturing communities so that they are at the cutting edge of manufacturing growth, and cut red tape so America can build more and faster. These efforts will enable the U.S. to maintain its competitive edge in industries that are strategic to our economic and national security. In Vice President Harris and Governor Walz's vision of an opportunity economy, America vigorously invests in and competes for the future through a strategy that insists on creating opportunity for all and leaving no areas or set of workers behind. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are calling for a new way forward for the middle class, where America invests in the most strategic industries of the future with a plan to ensure workers and communities will share in the benefits of those investments. So once again, okay, I hear these words, but there are no actual concrete plans behind them. But such as it is, I'm reporting the story. NBC reports the story this way. Kamala Harris vowed to govern as a pragmatist who would not be captive to ideology in an economic speech today, while outlining $100 billion in new investments in manufacturing, a major issue in this battleground state. Harris proposed an America Forward agenda that calls for tax credits to boost investments and to create industrial jobs, along with investments in artificial intelligence, science, and energy development, as well as supporting American-made products. The plan will cost approximately $100 billion and will be paid for by a portion of the proceeds of international tax reform, which seeks to prevent a global race to the bottom and discourage inversions, outsourcing, and international tax strategies designed by corporations to avoid paying their fair share to the United States. Harris also called for cutting red tape to build the U.S. and endorsed eliminating unnecessary college degree requirements for various federal jobs, mirroring a policy Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro enacted. I will be very pragmatic in my approach, Harris told a tightly packed crowd, because I believe we shouldn't be constrained by ideology and should instead seek practical solutions to problems. I am a capitalist. I believe in free and fair markets. She is battling criticism for being light on various policy issues. She sought to claim the mantle of middle-class candidate while portraying Republican rival Donald Trump as the candidate of the billionaire class. The speech was light on new policy details and heavy on framing the broad contrast she's seeking to drive. Once again, a broad contrast between you and your political opponent will not solve the problems that we have in this nation. And $100 billion, lots of money, $100 billion. Let's do something here. Let's go to Ford Motor Company. Ford Motor Company, MPANY, yearly budget. Yearly budget. Now remember, she's talking about trying to bring American industry back. Well, that's not small business. That's not the middle class. It's these gigantic corporations that have the way to do it. Okay, so she's talking about Ford's annual operating expenses for 2023 were $170.733 billion. Ford Motor annual operating expenses for 2022 were $151.781 billion. $100 billion given to small business will not do anything for Ford Motor Company or any other gigantic corporation. So this is American manufacturing, just a small part of it. And so how will all of this work? That would be another question I would ask Kamala Harris respectfully, interested in her answer, not interested in debating with her or arguing with her or any of those other things. I just simply want to know how all this is actually going to work. She says she wants to be a pragmatist. She says she wants to get this down to practicality. Okay, then show me practicality. As you raise Ford Motor Company, if you raise their corporate taxes from 21% to 28%, is that going to be something that is going to lower costs for Ford cars around the United States and the world? The answer is no. The answer is no. Donald Trump, on the other hand, makes it plain. He wants to lower corporate taxes to 15%. He also wants to put tariffs on these corporations that do business elsewhere because of taxes, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All right. So here we go. So how are you going to build American manufacturing and industrial power and union strength and all of those things by tossing out a $50,000 tax credit for a new small business? How's that going to happen? I don't see it. But then again, I'm asking, and I'm hoping that at some point we will get these answers. That's the news I have on Kamala Harris's economic planning. Do you know any more about it after I've reported these stories that all say the same things? Broad policy statements, scan on details. And these are from NBC, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Times. In other words, I'm left with more questions than answers. And I need these answers. Not just me, but you and everybody else in the United States. You know, you put an idea out there, you say an America Forward agenda. Well, okay, how's an America and this is another question I would ask. What's the difference between America First and America Forward? And she's going to say, well, America First is all about rich people, and America Forward is all about not rich people. Okay? In the United States, as a capitalist and a pragmatist, who is responsible for funding the middle class? Is it the middle class itself? Or is it these gigantic corporations that do business elsewhere because it makes more financial sense? Again, questions I have. And by the way, Kamala Harris is in a position where this maze I was talking about last hour, this political maze she's put herself in. Okay, well, so how do you bridge all of these things into practicality? A pragmatist, not bound by ideology, and yet, she says she's for free markets, but she doesn't want the free market to operate because she wants to dictate what the free market actually provides us. Electric cars ring a bell? Okay, so I'm waiting for answers. If you have some, if you're not going to define your economic policies, then your opponent will. And you can't complain about it if you're not going to give us the details. This is the Wells Report. Back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. That's how you get in touch with me. You also hit the chat room from the platforms that you're currently watching, and that's Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, Twitch, and so on. Patreon, okay? By the way, I'm going to catch up on all of the broadcasts that I have made in the past couple of weeks on Patreon here this weekend. It's going to take a while because there are only so many hours in the day, and it takes a while to put these things up. So if you happen to be a Patreon customer of mine, thank you very much, by the way, for the support. Stick around. Those broadcasts will be put up there for your perusal at your convenience. It has been a conundrum many of us have looked at, scratched our head over, and wondered exactly what was going on. When people run for political office in Washington, D.C., and start with, maybe a few $100,000 to their name and end up being incredible millionaires. One of the persons that is the beneficiary of all of this is former Speaker of the House and current Representative of California, the Democrat, Nancy Pelosi. Her husband, Paul, seems to be a stock trading wizard. He's receiving attention today from Fox Business. This is biased, so you need to keep that in mind. Former Speaker of the House, current Representative Nancy Pelosi of California is receiving attention once again because of her husband's stock trading. This time over her spouse unloading shares of Visa a few months before the federal government sued the company. Financial disclosures show the California Democrat's husband, Paul Pelosi, sold 2,000 shares of Visa on July 1st for at least $500,000. It's unknown how much, if any, profit the Pelosi's made in the transaction. The X account, Nancy Pelosi stock trader, flagged the trade yesterday, the same day the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against Visa, alleging the company maintained an illegal monopoly over the U.S. credit and, debit card market. Representative Pelosi's congressional office has not immediately responded to Fox Business's request for comments on the trade. In response to previous inquiry regarding Mr. Pelosi's trades, a spokesperson for the former speaker issued a statement saying Speaker Pelosi does not own any stocks and she has no prior knowledge or subsequent involvement in any transactions. Okay. So she doesn't. Well, why does Paul Pelosi keep making these incredible trades that save him lots and lots of money? Because obviously shares of Visa will go down, devaluing the 2,000 share portfolio that he sold in July. Are you saying that nobody in Washington had any idea the DOJ was going after Visa? Okay, and so Nancy Pelosi, hey, I don't have any stocks. I don't have any Visa stock, but your husband does. Come on. Really? I mean, so anyway, that being said, there are reasons why people are looking at Mr. Pelosi, who owns San Francisco-based investment and consulting firm Financial Leasing Services Incorporated. It's the latest in a series of trades by the lawmaker's husband that have drawn scrutiny for their particular timing. Lawmaker spouses can trade in companies or industries their partner may help regulate, but it's illegal for family members and members of Congress to profit from inside information. You think there's any inside information between the Pelosi's over dinner and that $25 per pint ice cream after dinner? Yeah, members of Congress on both sides of the political aisle have proposed legislation in recent years that would ban lawmakers and their family members from owning stocks over concerns of insider trading. But nobody's doing anything about it. Seems political, doesn't it? Yeah. This is one of those things where you look at it and you go, okay, well, whatever. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast. It's going to be 66 degrees tomorrow. Really? Yeah, when I said that I was very, very happy that looks like things are cooling off, I didn't realize it was going to be cooling off so much that I was going to start freezing to death. But that's okay. It's better than baking to death, isn't it? This is the Wells Report. John David Wells back with more in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. Let's take a look at the chat room and see what's going on here. Let's see. Oh, we had a Texas day today, 85 degrees. It's been over 100 for so long. It's hovering right around 190, some 99, and so on. And it's baking me. And yeah, it's nice. It was nice. I was driving home today from my day job. And I said, gosh, this is so nice. It's very nice. Let's see. Pep just said that Eric Adams has been indicted. He has. We'll talk more about that on tomorrow's edition of the Wells Report. And then there's this. So January 6th was a day that that showed the collective American idea, at least among some people, about the election of 2020. the actual riot that occurred at the Capitol was far less violent and far less damaging and far less involved far less looting and attacks on police and murders and other things that happened during the BLM riots. But it was described as the most horrible thing that ever happened to the United States, somehow forgetting 9/11, Pearl Harbor, the Vietnam War. I mean, it was like, really? So a lot of people wondered exactly what the story was with regards to January 6th. The Congress famously impeached President Trump for theoretically inciting that particular riot at the Capitol. The January 6th committee cherry-picked all the available evidence and to try to make it as damaging to President Trump as possible, and indeed impeached him for it. And that was set aside by the Senate of the United States in pretty quick fashion. And there are big problems with that particular political / law enforcement / public demonstration equation that we know now as January 6th. But there were problems insofar as were there government operatives on the ground, in the crowd, perhaps even inciting some of the actions that the January 6th rioters put up on the U.S. Capitol. Okay. So we've been wondering about that. The FBI, for example, has turned itself into a political action committee to try to quell any political opposition to the Democrat ideal or the leftist ideal in the United States. We call that the deep state. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is simply the way it is. That is news. There is a deep state. It operates through executive branch agencies to forward a leftist political agenda. So we do have things in the United States government called inspectors general. These are people that are tasked with factual, okay, we'll use the word pragmatic, investigations of what these executive branch agencies do. The Department of Justice Inspector General is named Michael Horowitz. And in a Fox News report that can be biased, they say this. Inspector General Horowitz did not deny that federal government confidential human sources were in the crowd during the Capitol riot, January 6, 2021. Horowitz was testifying on Capitol Hill Wednesday morning before the House Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. The Department of Justice watchdog testified alongside FBI whistleblowers and the president of Empower Oversight, Tristan Leavitt. The hearing was set to focus on how the FBI used its security clearance adjudication process to allegedly purge its ranks of conservatives and whistleblowers, and allegedly punishing those with views contrary to that of FBI leadership. Well, Fox News also backed this up with a report, and take this as you see it as we bring it to you regarding this particular hearing and what Inspector General Horowitz had to say here on the Wells Report.
A high-ranking officer in the Justice Department is suggesting something some Trump supporters have been saying for years, that there was more to the 2021 Capitol riot, the security around it, than we have been told. Republican accusations that the Biden-Harris administration has weaponized the federal government were the subject of a House subcommittee hearing today, and one question and answer is now getting a lot of scrutiny. Senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram shows us what happened live from Capitol Hill. Good evening, Chad.
Brett, good evening. DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz did not deny an assertion from Republican Thomas Massie that there may have been federal confidential sources in the crowd at the Capitol riot. This is the closest any DOJ official has come to confirming the allegation.
Do you have evidence of the number of confidential human sources that were operating on the Capitol grounds on January 6th?
Our report will include the information in that regard.
Can you tell us today how many there were? Were there more than 100?
I'm not in a position to say that.
As he left the hearing, Horowitz ignored a follow-up about potential feds in the crowd at the Capitol.
Mr. Horowitz, is it possible that confidential human sources made things worse on January 6th?
Democrats dismissed suggestions the feds may have been secretly at the Capitol on January 6th.
As far as I know, there's no evidence of that. No evidence of it. Federal informants? No. Why would there be federal informants in Trump's crowd when Trump was trying to overturn the election and committing grievous crimes in doing so?
The House panel investigating weaponization of government probed claims that the FBI retaliated against conservatives in its ranks. There are allegations that the FBI punished whistleblower Marcus Allen, who raised questions about January 6th, calling him a, quote, insider threat.
The FBI accused me of promoting conspiratorial views and unreliable information. The FBI questioned my allegiance to the United States.
Horowitz signaled his report about the riot will come out between the election and inauguration. House Speaker Mike Johnson called information about the feds, quote, alarming. He wants classified briefings.
Were there indeed U.S. government operatives in the crowd on January 6th? Basic logic would dictate the answer to be yes, and that the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, refused to say no, indeed said our report will indeed flesh that out, is what these people are all talking about. All right, so just exactly what are we to make of that? Well, once again, this is where the FBI's credibility, so badly damaged during the Obama administration, and certainly throughout the Trump administration, as James Comey was a prime mover behind what is now become the deep state. We find ourselves in a position of saying, yeah, well, it's probably pretty credible that there were indeed FBI operatives in the crowd. Well, what were they doing? Were they standing around observing? Were they reporting what was going on from an eyewitness standpoint? Or were they acting as hooligans to try to stir up the crowd for political effect? You shouldn't draw any conclusions about me asking that question. A lot of people will say, of course they were, hell yes about that. Okay, but let's look at it factually. Yeah, there were probably FBI informants, FBI confidential sources in the crowd. If they were there, and Inspector General Horowitz's answer seems to indicate that there were, what were they doing? Pep on the chat room says, can you say Ray Epps? Yeah, the FBI went far and wide, tracking down people based on video that they had of people in the crowd and arrested a whole bunch of them and threw a whole bunch of them in jail. Ray Epps is famously shown exhorting the crowd. Was he arrested? Nope. The FBI disavowed any knowledge of Ray Epps from a standpoint of being one of their operatives, but he wasn't arrested. How come? Why? Why wasn't he one of the people that made up the prison choir of January 6th operatives who indeed were arrested, tried, and sent to jail? No one knows. Ray says, I had nothing to do with any of it. The FBI says Ray Epps had nothing to do with any of it. And I'm going, I don't think that passes the smell test. Just my opinion. And so then we go back and we say, okay, what was the FBI doing with certain agents, like Mr. Allen? What were they doing with those guys? Were they indeed using the security clearance process to get them out of the FBI? Why? To further bolster the use of the FBI as indeed a political action committee to quell political opposition, which we have seen, not just from January 6th, but your local school board, the Catholic Church, any number of other organizations called domestic terrorists by that very same organization. So, getting back to January 6th, Were FBI operatives on the ground? Inspector General Michael Horowitz seems to indicate that there were. What were they doing? What were they doing? Were they building cases around the hooligans running around them, or were they the hooligans running around? Again, don't draw any conclusions. I'm not trying to foist a conspiracy theory. I'm trying to get the answers. There should be a report after Election Day. The reason that Michael Horowitz wouldn't name any numbers when Thomas Massie, the Republican from Kentucky, who questioned whether federal assets and confidential human sources were present, he said, I can't answer that because the report we have right now is just a draft. Of course he can answer. Why won't he? Is it because the game is yet still afoot? We don't want this information coming out before the election because why? Why is it? What's happening? How come it's not coming out in October, where the famous political strategy of the October surprise, incredibly damaging information being given by various sources for various reasons, typically to damage someone's political opponent? Why isn't that being put out? Is it because it wouldn't damage Donald Trump? Is it because it would damage the Biden-Harris administration and thus damage Kamala Harris? Again, don't draw any conclusions based on my questions. These are sincere questions that I would like to have answered, thank you. And we're not going to get those answers until after Election Day. Do I believe it's suspect? Yes. Yes, I do. I do believe it's suspect. And I believe it's awful. So, getting back to the Fox News article, which is biased, when pressed on how many confidential human sources were present and on whether there were more than 100, Horowitz would not disclose the information. I'm not in a position to say that because it's in draft form. We've not gone through the classification review, and I need to be careful. Why? People weren't careful when they impeached Donald Trump. We know that, indeed, the January 6th evidence was cherry-picked. And then when this particular committee on the weaponization of government against the political right, when they were finally called to actually account for their actions, all the evidence disappeared. Excuse me? It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to the January 6th committee. It belongs to the people of the United States. Where is it? Well, part of it's going to be in a report that's put out after Election Day. Yeah. When asked if it would be completed, the report, if it would be in final form before the inauguration, January 20th, 2025, Horowitz replied, that certainly is my hope and my sure hope. What we do know is you're going to expose that there were confidential human sources at the Capitol. Can you tell us how many went to the Capitol? I believe I'll have that information in the report. The report, I'm not able to speak to the information in here because it's just a draft. And we get a response from the department and the FBI, but also I don't yet know what's classified and not classified. Okay. So exculpatory information, say for example, that would help Donald Trump, is that classified or unclassified? In other words, will this report be, through the process of classification, massaged into something that is at least ambiguous, as opposed to a report that would probably show that there was indeed calculated political damage regarding January 6th against Donald Trump in play by the deep state? These are questions that really need to be answered, don't you think? And not after Election Day, but before Election Day. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. And whether the FBI was trying to purge its ranks of, say, for example, those on the political right, that is disturbing. We'll see more, hopefully.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells, and while we're on the subject of intrigue having to do with politics and this election, etc., there was a bipartisan vote rebuking the Biden-Harris administration for their withdrawal in Afghanistan. John Kirby, who is the national security spokesperson for the Biden administration, had some things to say on Fox News, and this is what it looked like. Check this out.
National Security Council Communications Advisor John Kirby accidentally sent out an email dismissing veteran concerns over the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. So here's what happened. Fox News Digital reached out to the White House regarding critical comments from several veterans. Kirby replied, quote, obviously no use in responding. A handful of vets indeed, and all of one stripe. He then followed up with Fox News Digital saying, quote, clearly I didn't realize you were on the chain. He only thought it was White House staffers. Tony Gonzalez is a Texas congressman, and he joins me now. Congressman, good morning to you. Okay, so what do you think about this? Because it does sound like John Kirby was saying, well, it's for veterans. They all might be Republicans. One of them was Congressman Corey Mills. So we don't need to respond to this.
Good morning, Carly. Thank you for having me. I tell you what, I served in Afghanistan. I served 5 years in Afghanistan before I retired as a Master Chief years later. I also attended earlier this week the Congressional Gold Medal ceremony and, met with the 13 Americans that were killed at Abbey Gate and their families, and it was painful. So to dismiss something like that in an email as if it's just a few people, clearly they're disconnected. Anyone who served in Afghanistan It is painful to this day, and it's absolutely wrong. They should not treat the families that way. They should not treat veterans that way. Show a little decency and show a little respect.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're so glad that those 13 who died were posthumously given that award this week. You were there, and I'm sure it was a reflective and powerful moment to watch their families receive that award while they weren't there to receive it themselves. So we also want to ask you about this unbelievable situation that's impacting your district in El Paso. There's a hotel there that suspected members of Trente Aragua
so the circumstance goes that, yeah, indeed, there was a report, there was a circumstance whereby this was a bipartisan vote rebuking the Biden administration for their withdrawal, and that story is it goes like this. Let me see if I can bring this up here, because I've got to do this, and then I've got to do this, and then I've got to do this. Okay. The 10 Democrats voted with Republicans today to rebuke the Biden administration officials over their handling of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. It passed 219 to 194, and among the Democrats who voted for the measure were Jared Golden, the Democrat from Maine, Mary Peltola, the Democrat from Alaska, Mary Glusenkamp Perez, the Democrat from Washington, Vicente Gonzalez, the Democrat from Texas, Greg Landsman, the Democrat from Ohio, and Jeff Jackson, the Democrat from New York. The bill was introduced by House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCaul, Republican of Texas, who conducted a years-long investigation into the chaotic military operation. 3 years after the deadly and chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, the Biden-Harris administration is yet to hold anyone accountable for one of the most devastating foreign policy blunders in American history, said McCaul. He's accused Biden officials of having prioritized optics over security, which McCaul said led to the deaths of 13 U.S. service members who were killed in a terror attack at Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul during the withdrawal. McCaul read their names on the House floor in closing remarks for debate on the bill. Nothing will bring their lives back. The resolution specifically name-checks 15 current or Biden administration members, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, former Ambassador to Afghanistan Ross Wilson, and Secretary of State Antony Blinken, among others. Leading the opposition to McCaul's bill was Representative Gregory Meeks, the Democrat from New York, the top Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. This resolution, as I've said all along, is nothing more than political theater designed to score cheap points rather than address the real issues at hand, said Meeks. It's a distortion of the facts and a disservice to the American people, a disservice to our service members, and a disservice to our diplomats, all of whom put their lives on the line during our 20-year war effort. Them and their sacrifices should not be used as a political football. We should be working on real solutions, supporting our Afghan allies, ensuring that we learn the right lessons, and providing accountability based on truth and not partisan narratives. So this particular guy says, well, it's political theater designed to score cheap points. Does that mean there were points scored? Is that not the case here? The answer is yes. This does score points. And when you're enmeshed in the American election season of 2024, yeah, political points need to be scored. The question is, was that a botched withdrawal? Did it cost the lives of 13 American service members? Were countless tens of billions of dollars worth of military hardware left behind? Did we give up one of the most important air bases that the United States has built around the world? The answer to all of those questions would be yes. So, how can these be cheap political points? Seems to me that they need to be thought of as points, and they need to be thought of as realities. That's just the way I think about it. This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of the show today. I hope you enjoyed the earlier time frame, and we may do this again tomorrow at the same time on these same platforms with this same broadcast. God bless you and yours. Thanks very much for being a part of the show. And I will see you again tomorrow for another edition of the Wells Report. Till then, God bless you and yours. Take care. And let's see, what else do I need to do? I need to do this. Have yourself a nice night.